Prepare to be enchanted as we wander through the colourful streets of Little India, but first we need to get there. Our journey takes in a former convent, a cathedral, majestic temples and mosques, each one with its own unique architecture, reflecting Singapore's multiculturalism and religious harmony. We will visit a number of inspired establishments, each a beacon of creativity and innovation, as well as more historic buildings. En route, we find a number of fantastic examples of street art.
So the plan today is to make my way up to Little India and explore around that area. Going a slightly different way to the way that Google recommends, because the way I'm going should hopefully take in a couple of churches and some other things that look quite interesting. Anyway, let's see what we find. Keep exploring. So the shorter of these two is the hotel that we're actually in, and I've come to the first place that I was planning on visiting, which was the church that I can see from our hotel window. And so we've arrived at the first of those churches, but I found out it wasn't a church. So this is Chijmes, which is an acronym standing for the Convent of the Holy Infant Jesus Middle Education School, and it's basically a historic building complex in Singapore and was originally, as you guessed, a Catholic convent. And it now houses a set of restaurants and eating establishments. Convent, which was active until 1980, and it was originally a Catholic girls' school. The building itself dates back to 1903, and it is adorned with lots of stained glass. Chapel was desanctified in 1983 and now forms part of Chijmes and is known as the Hall. And this is some outdoor seating area. Looks absolutely fantastic with the sculptures on top as well.
So originally there would have been a big open space below the ground and behind the chapel, and that would have held an open air area and outdoor seating. That area has now been covered with glass, and that will allow patrons to enjoy their dining protected from the elements. So in addition to the convent from which Chijmes gets its name, there's also a second historic building on the site, which is Caldwell Hall, which was built in the 1840s. I've got a long day ahead of me, and I better get moving on to the next location, which is the second church that I can see from the window of the hotel. So the Cathedral of the Good Shepherd is the oldest Catholic church in Singapore. The cornerstone was built, or laid should I say, in 1843, and the church was completed its build in 1847. There was no obvious way into this church, but I enjoyed looking round the grounds where there were a number of statues. Popped into this church as it was en route to where I was trying to get to, and it just looked interesting, and that's the way that I tend to operate. If I see something that I would like to have a look at further, I do so. Particularly like this sculpture, which is the homeless Jesus. It's made entirely of bronze and features Jesus asleep on the bench, nothing visible apart from the soles of his feet, and he's completely wrapped in a blanket. So quite a nice church with some elements of history that were quite interesting. Anyway, I've done my time here. It's about time that I left and continued my journey to Little India. Across the road from the cathedral is Singapore Management University and this absolutely gorgeous water feature. Really nice to see the contrast between the cathedral and this modern building. I continued walking along Malabar Road and could see off to one side this superb building, which is the National Museum of Singapore. This building was built in 1887 and has fantastic colonial style and loads of history, including this coat of arms, which is from Queen Victoria and believed to commemorate her Golden Jubilee. Like a wide variety of buildings, I particularly like the domes on the top of this one and the ornate front door. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, I didn't have time to go in and explore this superb museum. Apparently it has a multi-perspective way of presenting history and culture, which includes important artifacts and those tell the story of Singapore and redefine the conventional museum experience, or at least so their blurb says. What I did like is the way that the thought process had gone into the building, and it's been extended on a number of different occasions, and each extension was done in accord with the original heritage and original architecture, which made it very cohesive. One of the exhibitions at the moment is this travel-inspired one, which looks quite interesting, but I just don't have the time to do it.
the 1920s is when a significant amount of restoration work was done on the museum, and this extension balances the extension that was placed in 1916.
Distance from the National Museum with its 19th century colonial is this absolutely modern School of Computing and Information Systems. Really lovely looking modern contemporary building. I particularly like both the shape and the way that colours contrast to create this absolutely striking building. It wasn't long before I stumbled across another church. This one is the Orchard Road Presbyterian Church. Another very traditional looking building, very nice. There's a real mix of building styles, and I came across this memorial to the victims of Confrontassi. Continued my journey, I came across this sculpture, Endless Flow, which signifies good luck. In the background you can see the School of the Arts. This looks like a piece of apocalyptic architecture with its space and all of the plants that are growing around it. Very, very striking. This building has 3 gigantic towers that join up at the top like some massive tripod. Has loads of different angles, really, really nice. And at the bottom level you've got all the public places that people can go and watch exhibitions and watch events, and then at the top you've got the classrooms. The expansive steps are like some amphitheatre. This is a really striking building, but also quite a dark and, as I've said before, apocalyptic. Anyway, walking along the side, I actually managed to find a entrance, and I wondered where that went to, so I thought I'd go up and see. And the inside was as striking as the outside, with contrasting colours and shapes. It was a real statement. I just looked briefly around the ground floor, which are the public areas, and didn't venture any further. Anyway, back into the street and to continue my journey. Just behind the School of the Arts was this colourful area. I decided to actually go over the other side and see if there was anything interesting, and found the LASALLE Art Centre with its really colourful windows. Whilst the orange roofed building was superb in its own right, what really attracted me was the tower of cars behind. There were some real classic cars in there that I certainly recognise from my time. What a good way of using space. Apparently this is a car showroom, and if you want to buy a car, they basically bring it down from the appropriate level to the foyer and you can inspect it there. One of the things I love about Singapore and cities in general is when you get the contrast between the modern and the old. Doesn't come any more contemporary than the LASALLE College of the Arts. This is a series of monolithic black buildings from one side, and from the other side you have a glass structure that overlooks a central courtyard. Really nice contrast again. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but this is the Kwan Im Thong Hood Chu Temple, and this is situated in Waterloo Street. This is a temple of great significance to the Buddhist community and is a Chinese temple. Here you can pray to the goddess of mercy, and that is supposed to bring you good luck. A short distance away is another temple. This one is a Hindu temple, and again I'm not sure if I got the pronunciation, but it's the Sri Krishnan Temple. And along with the previous temple that we looked at, both of these have evolved practices of being a place of worship for multiple different faiths. And now we come to a building where they've blended contemporary and heritage architecture, and this is a showroom for a company called Space Furniture. again, I really like the architecture. I actually popped in and had a look around the inside and look at some of the wares that they had on sale, and it looked really interesting. One of the consequences of following my nose and going to where it seems interesting but keeping the same rough trajectory is that I seem to have gone round in circles on a few occasions. Anyway, we're back now on track and let's see how we go. This building looked a little unloved, but actually it had a real appeal. I love the shape of it in the round. Very nice looking building. We're now a short distance from our ultimate goal of Little India, which is directly in front of us, and we will soon be there. We've arrived in Little India, and I must say it's a very distinctive, vibrant and colourful place. We are on the Serangoon Road, and you can already see that there's a variety of different types of shops, restaurants, really interesting. All along the road you can see decorations hanging across the street and also on the posts. It makes it really colourful. One of the things that surprised me about Singapore is the red buses. I hadn't expected that. Such a variety of shops along the road, really colourful, some plying local trades like tailors, and there's also quite a few religious establishments, including this fantastic temple with its lovely tower made up of colourful sculptures. I'm not even going to pretend I can pronounce this one. I love this area. You can wander down some of the side streets, and there was some really nice street art there that picked out on the decorations that festooned the street itself, and it was just a nice place to come. Also took the opportunity to explore a few areas around Little India which were a bit off the beaten track, as you do, and that was, for me, that was quite interesting. I've now been here for a couple of hours and I'm going to make my way over to Kampong Glam, which was the other area that I was interested in, and my intention is to make a route to that, and then from there back to the hotel to pick up Joanne and have an evening meal. It's about this time that the heavens opened and it literally pelted down with rain, and you know what, I'd forgotten an umbrella and a coat, so I was in the risk of getting absolutely drenched. So looking around, the locals seemed to be in a similar circumstance, so I decided that the best thing to do was to make my way to one of the covers that was in front of the shops and use those to walk down the shop fronts, exploring as I went and keeping myself reasonably dry. Now made it to the Kampong Glam area that I was interested in, and on the way I passed a old cemetery which was interesting before arriving at the Malabar Mosque with its famed golden domed roof. The mosque is built on a very traditional Islamic architectural style and is very similar to the Sultan Mosque with those golden domes. My plan is, after I've done this area, to then go up to the Sultan Mosque itself and explore that area as well. Spotting some street art on the street opposite the mosque, I decided that I'd explore that area in my quest to get to both the Sultan Mosque, and there was another temple which was a Hindu temple that I wanted to achieve as well. So I've followed my nose down Aliwal Road and I've now arrived at Beach Road, and I'm trying to get to the Kampong Glam Park, which is where the mosque is that I'm interested in going. But in front of me I can see some superb high-rise residential and commercial premises in front of me. They look absolutely fantastic. Anyway, I better get on and make my way to the park. The rain at this time had mainly eased off, though it was still overcast and threatening to rain again. Got to Kampong Glam Park and there's the Fatima Mosque, and it looks really nice actually. It's also got gold domes and it's set well back from the road. Really nice. My plan is to make my way to the Sultan Mosque, sort of following my nose, and the weather seems to have actually held for me, which was really good. Attracted by some street art, I decided that I would explore further. The rain still seemed to be holding, and the graphics here attracted me to this area. It looks really nice.
Well, I've just met one of the guys that was doing the street art, a guy with the tag of bakes. Showed me a couple of his pieces, interesting. It's just sheltering from the rain before recommencing.
When it rains and it's quite ferocious. But it doesn't seem to last long. It clears up quickly. Anyway, I've now arrived at the Sultan Mosque. The Sultan Mosque has the same Islamic architecture and style that we saw on the previous mosque that we visited, and it sits in a lovely vibrant area. There are shops all around and stalls where you can buy goods, and if it wasn't wet today it would be a lovely area just to wander around and look. Also, there are a number of side roads, and each of those side roads seems to have a set of street art, which adds a really interesting vibe to the whole area. I think I've just found the villain's HQ, Parkview Square, a really magnificent Gothic building, straight out of your Batman type adventure, and it really looks the part. There's some lovely statues inside, and it would have been really nice to explore, but unfortunately the weather was not with me today. So whenever it's rained, I've always headed for one of these covered walkways in front of the shops that seem to surround most of the shops around Singapore, or at least in the areas I was today. Now the advantage of these is that you really don't need an umbrella. Though it was pouring with rain, I was actually able to make considerable distances using these covered walkways. This area I got attracted to first of all because of a camera bag, would you believe, and when I explored that I just kept on walking, and then I suddenly realised that I was actually in the Raffles complex. Well, I really enjoyed my time out in Singapore. It was nice to see some of the areas a little bit nearer the hotel and see some of the historic buildings, as well as Little India itself, which was truly vibrant and colourful. Really good day.